Alright, what's up everybody? It's your boy Akeen and welcome to the Pro Football Exclusive College Football Blog. I decided to change things up a little bit and decided to do a video outside in my neighborhood. I thought it was nice enough and nice and cool, so I decided to come outside instead of inside of my apartment. Now for today's blog, I need to give you a recap of week 3 of the college football season. Now there were a couple of major upsets this past weekend, starting with the number 2 USC Trojans losing at Stanford 21-14 due to a brilliant defensive effort from the Stanford Cardinal defense. They ended up just stopping that passing attack, by that explosive passing attack by the USC Trojans. Matt Barkley threw for 0 touchdowns. Now Silas Redd did rush for 2 touchdowns, but had just 17 yards rushing for the entire game. That Stanford Cardinal defense was for real, and I did mention them in my Pac-12 preview, but I did not think they were going to withstand the talent of the USC Trojans, especially with Matt Barkley and the 2 leading receivers, Marquise Lee and Robert Woods. I thought all this USC Trojan team was going to turn things around for the Trojans, because for the past 3 seasons before Saturday's matchup, Stanford has been killing the USC Trojans, and I thought they was going to turn things around this year. It still shows that Stanford still owns USC for the past seasons. Now hopefully they can get things together next season, but this is a big shocker for me, because I thought USC was going to win the national championship this season instead of an SEC conference school. Now this is going to be a major upset, and they ended up dropping in the rankings, which means Alabama is still number 1, LSU is number 2, and Oregon is now ranked 3rd in the nation. The Pac-12 championship is still up for grabs. I had USC winning it, but it looks like they still have teams to worry about, like Oregon and UCLA. UCLA can give them an upset later on in the season, but we will see. Hopefully the Trojans can turn things around. Now there were a couple of other major upsets. Second upset that we all witnessed this past weekend, Virginia Tech losing to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh actually started the season off 0-2, and they ended up beating the Hokies 35-17. Great, brilliant defensive effort, and I did like how they pounded the running attack in that running game with Ray Graham rushing for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they ended up stopping Logan Thomas, causing him to throw 3 interceptions in that matchup. Great defensive effort from the Pittsburgh Panthers, and I really thought this was a major shocker, especially for the Panthers starting the season off 0-2. Now there was a couple other upsets that we saw this weekend. BYU losing to Utah, losing their hopes of making it to BCS championship this season. Especially with this loss, I don't think they're going to make it this year, but they can still end off the season with a good year under coach Bronco Mendenhall. They ended up losing the game 24-21 due to two last-second field goals coming towards the end of the game, and that was the difference maker. If they made those field goals, they would have made it to the overtime and had a second chance of beating the Utah Utes and staying undefeated. Now there are a couple other upsets that we saw this weekend. Notre Dame beat number 10 Michigan 20-10 due to another great defensive effort. They only allowed 237 yards of total offense due to the great efforts from linebacker Monte Te'o, who has suffered a lot during this past week. He lost both his girlfriend and grandma and deaths, and he still had a brilliant performance. 2 pass breakups, a tackle for loss, and 12 tackles total. He's definitely going to be up for the Butkus Award at the end of the year, given to the nation's top interior linebacker. Now another loss that we all witnessed this past weekend, I thought this was a little bit of an upset. Missouri over Arizona State 24-20. Now the reason why this was an upset, because Missouri had to play without star quarterback James Franklin. He was out for the game, which means Corbin Bergstresser had to replace him at quarterback, and he ended up propelling that Tiger team to a good victory, and I was shocked with that upset. Now other than those key upsets, there were a lot of good victories during this past weekend. Alabama crushed Arkansas 52-0. This shows why they're the number 1 team and LSU is at number 2. I really think it's going to be between these 2 teams for the national championships at the end of the year, based on this past week's performance. Now there was another big butt whooping this past week, another 52-0 blank win for Florida State over Wake Forest due to a great effort by running back Chris Thompson. 9 carries and 197 yards rushing and 2 scores. Now he suffered a back injury last season in the lost to Wake Forest, and he came back with a vengeance. And I thought with that back injury, he had a chance of losing his career and scholarship at Florida State. But he ended up recovering, and he had a big, major performance. And I'm starting to have a little bit of hope in that running attack for FSU. They have a lot of speed, and they could probably do something this season. Now, there was a couple of other big, good victories last week. Ohio State over California. That was an outstanding game, 35-28. Braxton Miller, he had a good game throwing and running the football. He's actually 5th in the nation in rushing this season. Another big win, Georgia Tech over Virginia, 56-20. They have a good ground game with Ted Washington leading the way. And another good game win for Florida over Tennessee, 37-20. I thought Tennessee was going to pull the upset in this one, but that Florida defense did a great job in keeping containment in that passing attack for the Tennessee Vols. And great effort by quarterback Jeff Driscoll. 14 for 20 in that matchup, 219 yards passing. He was a smart quarterback, and he even helped that ground attack with Mike Gillespie. He had 116 yards rushing in that matchup, and even Jeff Driscoll got into the mix and running the football. Total, they had 336 yards running the football against the Vols, and that was key in that victory for the Florida Gators. Now, there was another close upset this past weekend. I told you guys about Marshall. They had a chance of upsetting the Bobcats, but Ohio Bobcats is still undefeated. They won that game 27-24, and that was a great game to watch. Now, I have one more game in particular I need to talk about. My Texas Longhorns, they had a big win over Ole Miss, 66-31, and this was a great victory. This showed a lot of spark in quarterback David Ash, who passed for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. And that ground attack, sophomore running back Malcolm Brown, he rushed for over 100 yards, and they have a good ground game. I'm starting to really believe in my Texas Longhorns, but their big test is going to be in October in Dallas, in that big Red River rivalry between them and their arch rival, or one of their rivals, Oklahoma Sooners. That's what's going to be a great matchup, and that's going to test. We're going to see how true this team, my Texas Longhorns, is about based on that matchup. And if they do beat the Oklahoma Sooners, I'm going to really believe in my team. I'm sticking with them no matter what. I'm still a Texas Longhorn fan, but as an analyst, I got to speak the truth. That's going to be a tough matchup, and that's going to be that big test to see if this team is for real. If they win this matchup, I'm going to really believe in my Longhorns, and I think you should all do the same. Now, overall, what we saw this week, based on these upsets, like I said before and time again, anything can happen on any given Saturday, any game, and I really think based on that performance for USC, this pretty much proves why the SEC Conference is the greatest conference in college football, and it's pretty much in between Alabama and LSU, like I said earlier. I think whoever wins that the battle between them two will win the national championship. It will probably most likely be an SEC school. That Alabama team has reloaded. This team is still a force to be reckoned with. Same for LSU. Now Oregon, they could get into the mix. They're a good offensive team, but defense wins championships, and the SEC Conference has great defenses. Like I said, I have to go with Alabama or LSU based on that performance by USC. Got to change my mind and speak the truth on that one. Now, next time I'm going to catch you guys is either on Wednesday or Thursday, where I'm going to give you a scoop of all the key matchups and my predictions for Week 4 of the college football season. And I'll catch you guys then. Thank you for watching today's blog from Pro Football Exclusive. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.